Welcome to the Ife Bamidele podcast, and it's a beautiful day. You know, every time I come on here, it gives me like some sense of excitement because I just get to hear a lot of things, I get to learn a lot of stuff, and then opinions, sharing, time to just live life expressively. This is my podcast, and today I have two guests on my podcast. There's my very good friend, brother from forever. Yes, June. You're welcome. Thank you very much. And then there's Tiwa. Tiwa is on today, and it's really nice. It's nice because we're going to be talking about very interesting things. I trust that people want to know some things that they've never known, and then people want to have ideas. They want to just see another perspective, and that's really the essence of my podcast. Today the topic is going to be, what if nobody marries me? Bam. The truth is this: whilst we start life, we hope that at some point in time somebody's going to come up and say, hello babe, how are you, what's good, how are you doing, will you marry me? And then everybody celebrates the popping of that question, and suddenly at some point in time in your life, especially if you are a woman, if nobody asks you. Now guys also have to answer that question at some point in time, but I think today we're going to focus more on women, and that's why we have a male-female conversation. Yes, so who should go first? Who goes first?
June.
Yeah, okay, I think you should answer that question. The real question is, what if nobody marries you? I mean, maybe not you, maybe somebody that you know, a friend, a sister, a cousin, and they're in a state where they're like, and they ask you, bro, what if nobody marries me?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So I think there are different perspectives to that, and you get to different stages in life where you view it differently. So like, say 15 years ago, what my response would have been is quite different from what it is now. So 15 years ago, I would have been like, man, that would be considered a failure, or that would be considered, a really bad thing. And that's because, growing up in a culture where there are different stages as to how, what is expected. Growing up in Nigeria, it's expected that you go to school, you finish school, either you get a job or you get married, and you get a job, whichever one, and immediately you get married, you're meant to have kids, even without considering if you're expected, you want kids now.
June, women want to marry. I've gone to miracle service every day. There's somebody who is doing a special session, singles and married, about to be single sisters forum, brothers who are waiting on the Lord. What happens when, in spite of having attended all the necessary services, nobody's showing up? What do you do?
The first instinct as humans would be someone feeling like they failed, someone feeling depressed, someone feeling, and it gets worse. And that's why I said the environment, because it gets worse because every corner you go into, someone is asking you, have we met this person? Who is the person? It's yours, you're next. Especially if you go for a wedding or you go to a family event, they're putting that pressure.
So what's the first thing that comes to mind when somebody says, how is the guy, or where is the man? Or when people, this is like Yuletide season, it's holiday period, and people have been begging on their social media handles saying, please, this Christmas, New Year, Easter, whatever it is that the holiday is, don't ask me why are you looking like this, don't ask me where the guy is, don't ask me why have I added weight. So the question about partners or having a husband or having a wife, how do you think people should ask?
Everybody should mind their business.
Oops.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you ask me certain questions like, why is the guy, or when are you getting married, then you should be prepared to answer such as, when are you dying? Ridiculous questions like that.
But people don't know when they are.
So how am I supposed to know when I'm getting married or when I'm meeting the man? Things like this just happens. Nobody has a timetable for life.
And for the people that it doesn't happen for, what happens?
You keep living. Which is why you were born in the first instance, to live.
But we're not all born to go to school, get married, have babies,
We created
die
that
someday.
order. We created that order for ourselves. We created
So
that
what
order.
will be advisory for young women who are dejected, sad, unhappy, because nobody's coming up?
Come up for yourself, show up for yourself. That is my own motto. I mean, contrary to what June said that some couple of years ago, he would have thought not being married was failure. Me, not being married was never even in the plan. So we have to accept that not being married was never even in the plan for some people. So
How many? What's the percentage? Do you have friends who you talk to, and if you were supposed to do like a 1 out of 10, like random sampling between 10 of your friends, how many of them do you think will have actually planned not to be married?
maybe 2 out of 10.
That's high, isn't it? Are you sure about 2?
Yeah.
Genuinely,
Yeah,
or
genuinely.
one person who is genuine, then the other person who is afraid that what if nobody married me? So let me plan by saying that I will not marry, so that if nobody finally married me, you'll be like, this was the plan. However, it was not the plan.
No, I think 2 out of 10. Maybe because all my friends are like, we have similarities, we both have the same issues, same upbringing, same orientation, probably.
Bad behavior.
Not bad behavior.
I mean, the question will be, if somebody says, oh, maybe I will not marry, or maybe nobody will marry me, maybe because of my bad behavior.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it was just because, maybe because of our own priorities or our own understanding or our own fears too, if I could say that. Or
Yeah, don't you think it's fair? Like, fair that maybe I won't succeed at this, maybe I've seen too many marriages fail, maybe I've not. We were talking about how some people didn't plan to, so it will not be failure for them. But some people did plan to. There's a larger number of people who are not. Some have excused polygamy, side chickism, different conversations around other alternative relationships as the solution to helping those who are unable to find partners. How do you think men should handle their friends, their colleagues who don't find anybody wanting to marry them?
Yeah, so for me, what I tell people now who are still single is, I ask them, do you want to get married because that was the order that was designed growing up, like, all that stuff? Or are you actually interested?
No, Junior, you're assuming that this order is the one that was created when we were growing up. But this order also have religious, in fact, for example, I'm Christian, and it has biblical allusion. There are biblical allusions to the power of 2. And not just biblical. In leadership, in strength, they talk about teamwork, bonding. 1 will chase 1,000, 2 will chase 10,000. Exponential powers, and how you are going to chase 1,000 all your life and not have a second person to be able to exponentially translate your 1,000 to 10,000. Isn't that losing out?
Yeah, but you just said it. The religious background talks about those 1, 2, and all that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily say it's only when you're married that 2 will chase 10,000. It says 2 will come together.
Yeah.
Not necessarily by marriage.
So it could be.
You have partners, like, so that, which is also, I say, the environment, because outside of Nigeria, Africa, you have people who are partners that are recognized, by the law. They're not married, but they live together, living partners, lawful partners, all that stuff.
Brother Jay, we're not going to do that. I mean, you're not going to start telling people that that's the way to go.
Well, not necessarily telling them.
So some people find themselves in certain circumstances, and then that has happened to them. But is that like going to be part of the plan?
No, it's part of the alternative plan. So if the question is, what if nobody marries me?
Yeah.
What if nobody marries me? Then there should be, why did I want to get married in the first place? And
I need company. I want somebody to rub my back. I want somebody to talk to. I want somebody to share my life with. I want to make progress. I need advisory. I want support. What are the reasons by which people get married? For procreation. There's mentioned 3 things when people get married. I can't remember those 3 things. Companionship, procreation, and there's one third one, because that's the will of God.
Yeah, but all those 3 they can be found in partnership, and that's why I was like, this recording might get interesting, because personally,
Yeah.
I feel a lot of people, I speak with a lot of married people, not married people, and one of the things I hear is a lot of them, they get married and then they discover this was not really why I was getting married. You find a lot of ladies, they got married because they want a kid, but because they felt that the religious settings, the background, actually wanted them to get married before they could have those kids. So if you have an environment that welcomes,
for those who, like Tiwa, for those who married because they wanted to have kids, they're married, they don't have kids. Win-win situation. Or somebody wants to marry so that they can have kids. Now, marriage, no. Kids, no show.
are they pursued?
But that's the point. You just listed the 3 reasons why people want to get married: will of God, companionship, and procreation. So if nobody marries you,
Yeah?
what is stopping you from still pursuing those 3 things?
Like 1.
Procreation, you can get a kid without being married. Companionship, you can find that anywhere. In fact, you can pay for it now.
How
That's
so?
how advanced the world is.
Yeah.
People pay for cuddling, people pay for befriending services, companionship.
But you know, the idea is with the genuineness of services that you pay for. For example, I spoke to a parent who adopted a child and had to send the child back to the services, and that was because she had more trauma with that child than before having that child. The child was very challenged, number 1, and then the child kept telling people every opportunity that the child had, "You're not my mother. That's not my mother. That's not my mother. This child, I'm adopted. That's not my mother. Don't call yourself my mother." And that's because the child has high intellectual functioning and had probably grown in an environment way before she was adopted, and so it was easy for that child to keep saying that. I cannot tell exactly why, but I mean, that's the reality.
Okay.
But that's adoption.
Yeah.
We're talking of other ways you could.
It's one of the ways. I mean,
Yeah.
assisted reproduction is one of the other
Exactly.
ways. But the question is, how acceptable is assisted reproduction at this time?
Quite.
It is very acceptable, but in
And what types
religious-
of assisted reproduction are commonly accepted? Because mostly it's for people, couples who are finding it hard to have children. But when you are single or married, and suddenly you appear with the baby,
And I think it still boils down to the environment. From an external viewpoint of like outside of Africa, outside of Nigeria, that is very common. That is very normal.
no, but even outside of Nigeria, your family members are going to ask you.
Yeah,
You're going to need to have a conversation, and then probably cost as well.
No,
So in addition to conversations around it, I mean, you're not just going to show up at a family event on Thanksgiving, even if you're American, and then you just show up with a protruding tummy.
That's the interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm 8 months gone. Like, gone where?
the way it's respected out there, like people, Tiwa said, mind their business, right?
Yeah.
People consciously mind their business because it can also be seen as discrimination, bullying, abuse, whatever it is. Now, organizations outside the country also even support you. Now, it doesn't cost, a penny or something. It costs a fortune to actually go through that process, and there's support, there's help in as little as where you work. They have like amount bonuses that goes towards, oh, I want to adopt a child, I want to, get a child by myself without necessarily going through the regular married husband and wife thing. So, but in Nigeria right now, the religion, the culture has not embraced it that much, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. Because it costs something, it's not for just anybody. You have to.
So if you met a 40-year-old woman who is sad because she's unmarried, what would you tell her?
What really? Why is she really sad?
Because she's unmarried.
What were her
So people see rejection from those patterns. So they think, so does it mean that nobody
You're not good enough.
likes me enough to be able to, and they use themselves as examples or compare themselves with people who they think are not as educated as they are, are not as beautiful as they are not as rich or wealthy as they are. And then they're asking big questions. Am I that bad? Am I wicked? Am I that terrible? I mean, not even one person. Assuming that he failed, I'll say, okay, we tried, it didn't work, but nobody is willing to marry me.
But I think it's absolutely rare to see a lady that has never, for once in her life, gotten a marriage proposal.
There are.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
There are, my dear. There's a lot. I mean, you don't fall into that category, and you are lucky.
And it's not by choice.
No, it's not by choice, my dear.
It's not like
they're just not in the places.
Out there, they're not dating.
Yeah.
They're not in the places where people can ask. They're not doing the jobs that people can ask from, or they're doing the jobs that people find it hard to access them. Then locations, countries, continents where it's really hard. And then the category of persons who are eligible. So by the time you are 38, for example, as a single person, the number of people who can actually marry you have reduced.
Of course, it keeps dropping.
The number, there will be people, always, even if you are a 90-year-old, there will be somebody who's, I know a 70-year-old who got married some years back, and she was happy, she was excited, it was a big wedding.
Okay.
And she had fun. But it is that 70-year-old that 39-year-old sees and asks herself again and says, man, this woman is 70. There's some man who is willing to marry her. I am 39 and nobody is winking.
Then if it is due to all these factors that you have identified, then if it is so important to that 39-year-old, then she should be willing to address these issues which she feels are
why do you think
contributing.
Why do you think men will skip
what?
Yeah,
The
if we
39-year-old.
yes, I mean not a 39-year-old. So if there were 10 people, as they grow up from 20, 21 till 40, you just see over a period of time, people get itched, and then this one is gone, this one is gone. What do you think makes those who have not gone, not gone?
A lot of things now. You might not have found what you're looking for, or you might, something you set unnecessary expectations. I don't subscribe to that.
You don't think so?
Is relative. Is relative.
Do you think that some women, especially unmarried women in their older age, look back and think, maybe I set the bar too high?
Yeah, I think a lot of them actually do. They think about the past. I can't speak for women, but based on the conversations I've had.
Oh, you've had a lot of conversations.
Yeah, right? And so it's a matter of they look back and say, oh, I would have done.
Because it's more likely that a woman is going to tell.
What is a bar too high? What is a bar too high? See, because the older you get, the more your priorities change, or the more your experiences begin to maybe mold your needs, your wants, whatever. So what I expect when I was in my 20s is definitely not what I want now that I'm in my 30s. It's not what I want in my 40s. So I don't exactly know what bars too high mean. If in my 20s I wanted a tall, dark and handsome, please, it is valid. And then if in my 30s I want, just a reasonable guy that can hold an intellectual conversation, it is valid.
Well, let's look at it this way. In your 20s, if I wanted a tall, dark and handsome who is financially stable, but I'm around the folks that are just getting out of school, they're still trying to, you've set a standard that it's very difficult to meet. Now, if in your 20s you did set a standard of, I'm willing to, get in with someone who we can build together and all that, then you made yourself more available to prospects around you. Now, in your 30s, if you did set that,
but some people are not in for building anymore, Abby.
Exactly.
No time.
A lot of
no time to build.
No time. You see? So that's the thing. So now people look back in their late 30s and they're like, maybe if I had set that standard of I want to build, maybe I would have been part
instead of moving into a built apartment.
Exactly. Instead of moving into a built apartment, I would have probably found someone.
I beg to differ.
Okay.
I think what most people regret in their 30s is that they did not know how to accomplish that target.
Sorry, I didn't even say. I apologize, Dr. Tiwa. I didn't say that part. I mean, Tiwa has a PhD. Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I think what we regret, or what most ladies regret later in life, is they did not know how to accomplish that plan of theirs. Because honestly, if you look at the generation now, the young generation or the 20s, the whatever, they set that target of, oh, I want a rich man.
And they get
that
it.
rich
Oh,
man.
shit.
Yes, because they know how to place themselves in that position.
And then
where
on one of the episodes of my podcast, I'm going to be talking about domestic violence and all that stuff. But the question will be, when you now get that rich man that you targeted, and then you now get a few punch, bad, along as the attachment to that rich man, is that achieving your goal? Is that goal achieved?
You have achieved one goal, then that is another goal you don't have to see.
And that's the point where you look back and be like, did I really want this goal at that point when I got what I got? Because you think about it, like, people want the rich man, they feel that, oh, that's the right place to be or something, but they look back and they're like, okay, maybe this is not what I really wanted. And that's back to the point, if I wanted to get married at 20 something and, you know, I didn't end up getting married, and I look back 20-30 years from then and I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't do some things right. And that's the regret.
Okay, I'm going to ask for two things. One, give me 2 tips, assuming that somebody is listening today and they are in that category, because most of the people who are going to be listening because they're asking themselves, truly, what if nobody marries me? So now, if I'm somebody who is asking that question, maybe not so young, and I'm in that state already, I'm asking myself those questions, what will be your 2 lifelines for me? I'll ask Tiwa to go first. Number 1, number 2.
I think first and foremost, I'll ask the person, what were your expectations for getting married? What did you think marriage was going to give you?
Everything that comes with it.
Make a list.
Okay.
And then see if you can personally pursue those things.
I want to scratch my back. Okay, back scratcher.
Everything, there is something.
But you know how sometimes back scratching, but you cannot scratch your back. You can scratch your back, but
ask someone to scratch your back.
Opo.
Ask someone to scratch your back.
Yeah.
Keep living, honestly, yes, because as much as I would like to defend myself and all the thoughts I'm putting out there, I do agree with you. Realistically, those things happen.
Do we need people? Do we need other people?
Everybody needs everybody. We are human beings. We are like social.
Do you think that if they are committed to us, don't you think that it is that commitment that we want? The fact that they cannot just disappear on us. The fact that they have devoted themselves. That sense of security. Like, you get a job, you want an employment letter, you want a confirmation, just something to show that this is where I stand. You want to be able to build with confidence.
I know. Yes, but the best of men are still men, like I tell people.
The best of humans.
The best of humans are still the
gender.
Best of humans are still humans.
Don't throw it at us alone. The best of humans are still, including women.
Even the most dedicated person could one day up and go.
So number 1 is get a list. Do a list of things that you really will have wanted in a marriage.
Exactly.
And then see how you can pursue those things either yourself or via other means.
Exactly.
Okay, because somebody says, I want a prayer partner. I want somebody who's going to be the father of my head. Somebody who's going to lay hands on me in the morning before I go out. And then after I finishes laying hands on me, he'll turn me over and then lay hands on me as well.
Lay hands on yourself. I think we think so.
No, Tiwa, let's not be laying hands on ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, like we said, via other men.
Accomplish
the things you want to accomplish.
Okay, that's number 1 tip. Number 2.
But above all, live for yourself. Keep living. Because really, you cannot say that once nobody marries you, you're just going to stand in one position, pause your life, and not do anything again. You keep living.
Okay.
And find joy in the ways you can.
Okay, that would be 2 tips, but I don't know. I'll see how far that goes.
Yeah, for me, I would say start doing things differently. Don't get lost in your ways. A lot of people get, stuck in this is how I do. They have a particular pattern of how they live. They go to work in the morning, go to church, come back. Most times they're in the same circle, they're in the same.
They're in a bubble.
Yeah, they're in this bubble, and
nobody's seeing you from
a different perspective. So try to get, change that lifestyle. The other thing is that you don't necessarily have to get married.
You
don't have
That's
to.
actually a tip.
Well, I'm just saying, no, because a lot of people are logged in that's like a progress.
But you know, for
lifestyle.
me, it's not about. I agree with you that you don't have to. However, for those who want to, my concern is not for those who are contemplating. You know, that's a different thing. I'm like, maybe I may not, maybe I may not, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But for some, it is a desire, and that desire is not happening. And you find a lot of people who, that is why they wet their pillows every night. They're crying, they're unhappy. And in fact, it's not just the women or the men, it's also something that happens to their parents.
Yeah.
There are some people, if you ask the many mothers who are going to church on Sunday, Friday, they're going to church, they've carried your photo to the prayer meeting.
Yeah.
Say, God, these children, just settle them in a happy home. So how do you go and tell mommy that, mommy,
I don't want to.
your daughter may not even, if you say I don't want to, they will bind and cast you and send you away. The devil has finally gotten hold of you. But I'm saying, you go and meet somebody's mom now and say, mommy, do you know that your daughter may never marry? What do you think that
Or your son may never marry.
Oh, thank you, Tiwa, for saying your son too, because I know that the gender people women always make sure that they remind us of the fact that there are two genders, and and there are. But you know, one of the things I try to say on the marriage thing is how marriage has been skewed in favor of men as against women, and that's because women are expected to be asked. Most engagements, most requests are, will you marry me, as from man to woman. Whilst with development and in some cultures, women are also empowered to ask. And I think that that's one of the solutions to getting more women married. Encourage women to be able to ask. You have seen something that is fine, that you like, ask.
Go for it.
But are men ready and open to those conversations? If one day I just go and have a drink somewhere and I'm sitting down and some woman just comes, or somebody who I've been around or with just comes and then goes on her knees and says, will you marry me?
You're like, really?
Sure.
Who told you that?
I wanted to be asked. And we are very religious people too now. I know the Bible says who finds a wife.
Bam!
So the wife is supposed to be
found.
Not go searching, not go fishing.
But what many biblical scholars recommend is that for you to be found, you have to put yourself in a place to be found. And that, like Ruth, Naomi told her, go to the field of Boaz, be doing as if you are collecting something, it will find you there. So what June was saying was, many women are not in a place to be found. And so that makes it difficult. But unfortunately, many women are also in places that their friends were found, where their cousins were found, but still they are not found.
Yeah. One thing I would say, just because I know we're running out of time, is relationship. You know, I think I mentioned this some days ago. Relationship also comes with value exchange. So your friend, your cousin who was found in the same location probably had a value that the person that found them was looking for.
Depending on what you call value, my brother.
Yeah, that's a different ballgame. But I'm just saying, like, three people might be in the same room, you know, and you know, someone walks in and they're looking for
a fine face,
or they're looking for a good English speaker or figure eight or something.
Oh yeah.
And the person downstairs is actually looking for someone to take a walk with. If that person downstairs doesn't come here, they won't see the value in the person who wants to take a walk because they're in a different location. But there's value exchange at some point because the person who walks in who wants figure eight has found that value. There's someone else in a different location who is also looking for the value, but they won't find it in the same space.
Whether what you found is sufficient enough to last you the journey is another conversation. But I agree with value exchange, although that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
But I'll just take Tiwa's major tip, and I think from you, what was your major tip, June?
Do things differently.
Do things differently. What's the second one?
don't
don't
have
have
to
to
get
get married.
I don't know whether that is a tip or whether that will qualify as a tip, man. Because the person who we're talking to wants to get married.
Well, I will put it at what's the foundation of your desire to want to get married?
Life.
Define that.
Life, joy,
So we're saying the same
excitement.
thing basically now. Like, is saying basically what I said.
Where are you people from? Where are you people? Wait, have you not had? Do you know what we call?
Supposed to
Do
give
you know
you.
what we call marriage? The institution of. I mean, you people want an individual to throw away the entire institution.
But
You're
it's
wicked,
actually
though.
a beautiful institution, but I don't think it was the sole reason why you were created.
Wow, I think that's a good place to end. The institution of marriage is a very good one,
Absolutely.
but that's not the only reason for which you must have been created, and that's really fun. I hope that this conversation continues. So I'm going to have this "What if nobody marries me" thing.
Episode 1.
Yeah, I'm going to be having 1, 2, 3, and then until one day when somebody tells me that they listened to the podcast, they were not sure about whether somebody will marry them or not. They took a tip and then they are now married, or they took a tip and now they are unmarried
But
but
satisfied.
happy, satisfied. Okay.
That's another.
We'll take that up at another time.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful time. Thank you so much. It's been 30 minutes of engagement, and the real question is still, what if nobody marries me? That's not my question though. That's a question for somebody who has not been married. Thank you.